Pope Francis has closed this summit with some closing remarks, and in those remarks he outlined an 8-point plan, if you like, as to how the Church will now go forward, having dealt with and heard what they've heard over the past couple of days. Now, in that plan, he says the Church needs to change its culture. It needs to stop being so defensive when it comes to the issue of church child sex abuse. He's also outlined a plan for further screening of would-be priests, so psychological tests, and also a commitment to make sure that those who are abused are given all the support they need by the Church afterwards. Now, he said he'll be taking every step to try and stamp out child sex abuse within the Church, and also said he'll be taking every step to make sure any cases are not hushed up. Those were his words, and of course he's referring there to the cover-ups which have plagued the Catholic Church for decades now. To hear how the survivors or the victims of church sex abuse took his words, I'm joined by Miquel Hurtado, who is himself a victim of church sex abuse. You heard the Pope. What did you think about what he had to say?
Well, unfortunately, I'm horribly unsurprised by the Pope's words. He's not taking responsibility for the issue of clergy sex abuse, and he has discussed very generic points, but very important issues like, for example, accountability are missing. How is he going to hold accountable bishops and cardinals who have covered up child rape? Is he sending a message to all the bishops in the world that from now onwards covering up child rape will cost you the job? That's not what he has said. Another thing that it's very, very hurtful for survivors who have come from all over the world is that he spends half his speech talking about abuse outside the Church. Sorry, Pope Francis, we were abused in the Church. We were abused by priests, we were abused by bishops, we were abused by religious brothers, we were abused by Catholic teachers. So can you please address our suffering? Because it's very good that you have kind words for other types of survivors, but we are your survivors. We are your children.
You mentioned there those outlines, the points, they're too vague. They don't necessarily result in action. That's disappointing for you. Is the hardest thing the fact that you won't be able to measure any sort of progress the Church makes here?
Yeah, there's no objective benchmark. I think the key issue is implementation, implementation, implementation. How are these general vague guidelines going to translate into increased child protection on the ground all over the world? How do you measure that these measures are implemented, you know?
Absolutely, very vague. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
I think we have to realise here that Pope Francis's papal legacy was on the line here. To the victims, to the survivors, some would say he's failed. The Church is saying, hey, this was the first step. We've taken the first step. Give us time and we can implement some of the measures we've brought about. But as you've just heard from survivors, time is running out. For many of them, this was already too little too late, and it certainly is now.